Back to politics now, and Jeb Bush says he's just not going to take it lying down anymore. He's fired up. He's going after Donald Trump. Trump tweeting that he thinks Bush should drop out of the race. In fact, he thinks all of the candidates should drop out of the race. The former Florida governor says bluster won't cut it. People need, he says, a fixer.
I'm not going to win over the punditry class for sure, but I know I can win over people that aspire to a better life for themselves and their family. And as it relates to Donald, you know, he's run for president twice and quit. And I've run for governor in the biggest swing state and won twice.
Peggy Noonan, columnist for the Wall Street Journal, author, speechwriter. This is her 9th book, and it is a treasure. It is called The Time of Our Lives, and it forces all of us to think about the times that we live in and our own impact and our own part in them. As you say, Peggy, welcome.
Thank you.
It is wonderful to have you with us, and it's been great to look back over your work as I've been reading this book. But I want to talk first about politics, and let's talk about Jeb here for a moment, because you said in a recent piece and recently on camera that you think that it's impossible for you to see him winning this race. He's at 4% now in the Quinnipiac poll.
Yeah, well, this year has been nothing if not surprising in every way on both sides. So we'll see how it goes. I think you have to view this year with an openness to being shocked. That having been said, my read on Jeb is that he made a bad impression for 6 months, and now he's trying to turn it around. That's hard to do, you know? One of the ways he tries to turn it around, I think, is to describe what kind of candidate he'll be. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'll be joyous, I'll be heartfelt, I'll be Reagan-esque, I'll share my vision. Don't describe what you're going to do. Do it. He's had a little trouble doing that. Now he's in a spat with Mr. Trump. Eventually, everybody winds up in a fight with Mr. Trump. Soon, Mr. Trump will be in a fight with Mr. Trump. But we'll see how it goes. But I think this year has shaped up into this remarkable thing where it is the outsiders versus the insiders, and that was unexpected.
Well, you know, people say Donald Trump's evolving as a candidate, that he's getting better at it. Do you see that? And what do you think about him?
I think he's trying to show greater self-discipline. You get the sense with him sometimes in a news conference that he'd really like to be, you know, doing some of that thing that he does. What's the name? Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. Remember that figure?
I sure do.
Sometimes you get the impression with Trump that he's trying to keep himself, you know, restrain himself from that. Because indeed, politics is a game of addition. You're trying to bring people into the tent, not insult them out of the tent. That having been said, we will see how it goes for Mr. Trump. Chris Christie said the smartest thing the week Trump announced. Somebody said, is he going to be a good candidate? And Chris said, he's going to be as good as he wants to be. Meaning, you know, if he disciplines himself, if he becomes serious,
and he knows him well, just across the river from each other all these years.
That's right.
I want to talk a little bit about your work, your past work, because that's what this book focuses on. And I'm going to take a moment to remind everybody of a speech that is my absolute favorite Peggy Noonan work. And you see the threads of this speech that run all through all of Peggy's columns and what is inspiring and meaningful to her in life and in America. And it was this moment, which was the 40th anniversary of the days that the boys of Pointe Hawk scaled the cliffs behind Ronald Reagan, and he had them assembled on the stage with him. It was, for many of them, their first moment coming back to that pivotal place in their lives. So they were, you know, 17, 18, 19 when they were at Pointe Hawk. And they were sitting there before him, able to travel for probably the first time back to that spot. And they looked up at Ronald Reagan, and he said this to them: "You were young the day you took these cliffs. Some of you were hardly more than boys with the deepest joys of your life before you. Yet you risked everything here. Why? Why did you do it? What impelled you to put aside the instinct for self-preservation and risk your lives to take these cliffs? We look at you and somehow we know the answer. It was faith and belief. It was loyalty. And it was love." What moved you to write those words, and what do you remember about writing that speech, Peggy?
Oh, you know, the president was so moved that day. One of the things that made that special is it was the 40th anniversary of D-Day, one of the great military moments of the 20th century, one of the great liberation moments. But no one in the years since had quite celebrated it. Enter Ronald Reagan. He was going to celebrate it. He admired, in a very helpful way, warriors and those who fought for their country. He was especially moved by these men because so many of them were young kids. They were from the cities. They were from New York and Baltimore. They were 20 years old. And they risked everything that day to seize back Europe. So it was very important to Reagan that he celebrate them and captured what they had done. It was also always important for Reagan to turn around the Vietnam feeling. Do you remember when after Vietnam everybody was putting down our servicemen? Reagan didn't like that. Reagan said, no matter what you think about that war, we respect and honor those who have come and who went and fought for their country. So I always think that speech in part was important to him because it was helping to turn around the reputation of those who had fought for us.
Peggy, thank you very much. The book is called The Time of Our Lives. It's a treasure and a wonderful collection of Peggy's great work, and we look forward to all your columns to come. Peggy, thank you so much. Great to have you with us.
Very much.